The Supreme Court is hearing a case on an abortion bill today on if abortion pills are allowed and if the FAA can be sued for having this abortion pill. If this gets nipped in the bud to where this pill cannot be allowed, then I think it's a positive sign. Obviously, Roe v. Wade was overturned last year, which I think was a very positive sign. I'm very pro-life. Any action to lower the number of lives on this planet, and especially in our country, should be stopped. I mean, the U.S. fertility rate in 2021 was 1.66 births per woman, and in the 1950s, it was 3.7. So there's a very sharp decline in birth rates in our country, and what does that tell you? That if that trend continues, then we're not going to have any more people. So any action to stop life from taking place, to end a life before it even starts, should be stopped. I mean, even if you don't think that a fetus is a life in the womb and that life doesn't begin at conception, that fetus is ultimately going to become a person. So you're stopping a life from taking place. You're taking away another person to be in the United States population. And the rates of birth continuing to go down, the population rate continues to go down. Unless you bring people in from third world countries to replace those people. This is the whole great replacement theory, and it's not really a theory or a conspiracy theory. There's books written on this. This is not some conspiracy theory that somebody came up with. No. This is something that books have been written on. This is something that is currently being implemented. When you have a government pushing for lives to be ended before they even start, and the killing of babies, and then importing illegal immigrants from third world countries, you are replacing American lives with foreign people, aka a great replacement. The argument for abortion, they like to say that they like to point out the circumstance of the mother's life being at risk for giving birth, and that is greatly exaggerated. Any threat of that happening is handled and can be handled with a C-section. A C-section gets rid of pretty much all risks involved in that scenario. There's no excuse to kill a baby in the womb. I'm not arguing that people who can't afford a baby or if they can't properly raise it, that they should have the baby to raise, put it up for adoption. There's no excuse to end a life, period. There's no excuse to not let that baby have a chance at life. Even if it's not under if you can't properly raise it, or if you can't afford to have it, great, put it up for adoption. If your life's at risk, or there are risk concerns with having the baby, then great, have a C-section. Like, there's ways around it. There's no excuse for not having the baby or killing it in the womb. This country and the world needs more people. The world's birth rates are going down. You have people like Elon Musk who have been very public on this, on that we need to have more babies. We're a world in decline on people. And what's to blame for that? Obviously, abortion is one thing to blame. The selfishness of people in general, they don't see the need to have babies. I mean, one of our greatest gifts as people, and women especially, is to produce life, to have birth, to produce a human being, one from your own genes. And the selfishness, especially from the feminist movement, of not wanting to have a baby because it's selfless in raising another human being, and they think, oh, well, it'll save me a lot of money, save me more time, and I don't have to be responsible for another person. So I think that is mainly to blame for the birth decline, especially in the United States. But if you look in other countries like China and Russia, they're not having this problem nearly as badly as we are. So what does that tell you? It's a cultural problem. It's a cultural problem of anti-babies and selfishly not wanting to produce life. And you can have sex all you want, unprotected sex all you want, and then you can just kill the baby in the womb, and that's evil. It's selfish the whole thing is selfish. Like I said, even if you can't raise the baby yourself or don't want to, fine. Put it up for adoption. There's ways around that stuff. There's not a way around ending a life and selfishly ending a life. I mean, it's the most selfish act. It's murder is what it is. Like, again, I think the whole argument of whether it's a life when it happens is stupid, because what's it going to eventually be? A human. So you're ending a life. You're ending what will eventually be a life. You're stopping a life from taking place. Murder. And the act of, for selfish gain in your own life and your own interests, and I can have sex all I want and then just kill the baby when it happens. I mean, it's the most selfish act you could do, arguably. Ending another life for your own well-being, especially one coming from you. You're producing the life and then ending it prematurely. It's evil is what it is. And you have President Biden openly threatening the Supreme Court justices during the State of the Union for overturning of the Roe v. Wade Act. That's insane. I mean, don't even go down the route of a president threatening a Supreme Court justices. I mean, the whole reason of checks and balances is completely thrown out the window now. I mean, that's authoritarian to threaten Supreme Court justices just because they rule something that you don't like or it doesn't further push your agenda or your party's agenda. I mean, I'm not even going to go down that route, but that just illustrates where our country's going, that the people in power want killing of babies. They're pushing for it. So there's a lot at risk here globally, especially with the population rates and the birth rates going down dramatically. I mean, that eventually leads to extinction. So that problem needs to be fixed logically. But on the home front in the United States, we have to fight for life, the freedom for babies to be born. It's kind of crazy. I mean, if I would have said that like in the 1950s, where there was almost four births per woman on average, that we're going to have to fight for the rights for babies to be born in 2024, they would have thought you were crazy. But that's where we are. And for some reason, the left hates life. They want to import people from other countries to replace Americans and then put an end to American babies being born. This is a fight that needs to be fought. It's a very important one. And I'm glad that the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. And hopefully they'll overturn the right for this abortion pill to be in stores, on shelves of stores. So, like I said, this is a very important fight for us to have, the pro-life fight. Not only for the birth rates, but for life to exist in general. I mean, to stop murder from taking place. It's a spiritual battle. And I'm going to talk a little bit about this later on in the podcast, but not only the ending of babies' lives, but also the sexualization of children. If you notice, it's only going on one side, on the left. It's not going on the right. This isn't a right issue problem. The left is where this problem is occurring. The weaponization against children and unborn babies. So hopefully the Supreme Court rules correctly on this. Deliberations began today on this. But like I said, any push or any choice to be made for unborn babies to be born and for life we need to go that route. not only for the reasons of the population rates and the birth rates in decline, like I said, but it's a spiritual battle, and we must be on the right side of that battle.